Hello, we're members of the Louis Riel Bolivarian Circle of Toronto, Canada. My name is Maria Pais Victor, and I would like to read to you a press release that we have. Yes to the Esequibo and no to Exxon MOBIL. Let's unite to protect the Venezuelan Esequibo today and for tomorrow. The land of the Esequibo is an area that has been in dispute for many decades between Venezuela and Guyana. It measures 159 square kilometers and 432 kilometers of coastline on the Caribbean Sea. The River Esequibo, with a longitude of 965 kilometers, is the fourth largest river in South America, and it gives its name to the area. It is the home of indigenous peoples, the akawaio, patamona, waiwai, makushi, lokonas, wapishana, and kariña peoples, whose survival is precarious. The River Esequibo and its adjoining lands constitute a tropical ecosystem of extraordinary biodiversity and beauty. There are 300 fish species, 60 of which are original to the river. Its biodiversity includes 1,000 species of fauna, including tapir, jaguar, turtles, and innumerable birds. So considering that in 2009, President Hugo Chavez warned in Copenhagen that 60% of the ecosystems of the planet have been harmed, and that climate change is without a doubt the most devastating environmental problem of the century. Considering that the fifth objective of the Venezuelan National Plan 2013 to 2019 is, and I quote, the preservation of the human species and of life on the planet, thus affirming the government's engagement to caring for the environment. And considering that the long-term aim of Venezuela is to attain a future with a diversified economy that reduces the current dependency on the exploitation of that valuable but non-renewable resource, which is petroleum. And considering that the Venezuelan Constitution enshrines fully the human rights, both civil and social, of the indigenous peoples, that there is a recognized implementation of the same by the government administration, and in view of the intense political participation of indigenous peoples in Venezuela, and considering that the Venezuelan efforts to preserve and protect the environment, such as the sowing of 45 million trees in 6 years, forbidding GMO seeds, the establishment of a Ministry of Eco-Socialism, and the implementation of important environmental measures, being the first country in the world to forbid trawl fishing in its waters, having implemented programs to preserve endangered species such as turtles and crocodiles, and implemented laws to protect biodiversity, and considering in view of the environmental enthusiasm of hundreds of communal councils, communes, thousands of workers, agriculturalists, students, environmental associations, and thousands of volunteers of civil society. We, therefore, believe that Venezuela is in an excellent position to be an effective steward to protect the important but fragile ecosystem of the River Esequibo, and could tend its hand to Guyana so that it too can act to preserve the Esequibo area. And considering that ExxonMobil, the largest oil company in the world, was one of the powerful forces behind the refusal of the United States to ratify the Kyoto Accord, that it is responsible for the largest oil spill in the United States, the Exxon Valdez, which it has never fully cleaned up nor given compensation for, that it has attacked the majority of the scientific studies that warn about climate change, that it has violated human rights with torture, deaths, and rapes in Indonesia and Nigeria, that it is responsible for the cruel deaths of hundreds of dogs in the Alaska sled races, which it supports, and that it continues to do experiments with live dogs, whose underwater explosions have killed countless numbers of gray whales, of which there are only 100 left in the world, that it is the corporation that most uses its profits to influence governments all over the world, and that it is encouraging the current government of Guyana to an aggressive stance in the border negotiations with Venezuela, trying to provoke a war so that it can carry out unfettered oil exploration in the Esequibo ecosystem. Therefore, we ask the Bolivarian government of Venezuela to continue its peaceful diplomatic efforts in this border dispute, that it stress its respect for indigenous rights, that it reaffirm its commitment to the protection of the Esequibo River's ecosystem, and that it not cease to protect it from the depredations of Exxon and MOBIL. We also ask the citizens of the world to join in this campaign in favor of the environmentalist and peaceful Venezuelan efforts to repudiate the most sinister oil company in the world, whose intrusion in the Esequibo would be the death of a unique ecological area of the world and greatly harm indigenous life. And finally, we ask our brothers and sisters of Guyana, members of Our America, to repudiate the intromission of ExxonMobil in the border negotiations between Venezuela and Guyana. And we ask them to unite environmental efforts of both countries to preserve the Esequibo as a zone for ecotourism, parks, sanctuaries, and a secure home for the traditional indigenous peoples who live there. Join our campaign. Yes to the Esequibo, no to ExxonMobil. Thank you. So that's why we say Esequibo yes, ExxonMobil no.
ExxonMobil no. ExxonMobil no. ExxonMobil no.